Japanese customers haven't been ignorant in battery EVs, but have held some negative images of low-quality EV batteries that were in the market earlier. Many are still not aware of advanced battery EVs such as Tesla that are popular in the US and Europe.
Okay, we realize that EVs will require fewer workers, but instead of actually employing fewer workers, why don't you employ the same number of workers and just cut back on hours so we can all earn a full week's paycheck with just 4 days of work per week?
Survey after survey shows that a large percentage of Americans just don't have any interest. GM and Ford are losing billions of dollars on all these cars. Why this almost obsessive push?
George, how much does this strike of the UAW against what we call the big three benefit potentially non-union makers, especially Tesla?
All that and more, so let's get to it.
長い間日本はある意味バッテリー EV が売れない市場で
Although Japan once was a developed EV market when Nissan released the Leaf and Mitsubishi came up with the i-MiEV, it's been some time, and Japan has been a laggard in the EV market. Japanese customers haven't been ignorant in battery EVs, but have held some negative images of low-quality EV batteries that were in the market earlier. Many are still not aware of advanced battery EVs such as Tesla that are popular in the US and Europe. The fact that Nissan's light EV Sakura came out last year and became such a big hit as a new option, I think that once people see the new performance of these EVs, they will be interested enough to try other EV options.
The EV market is pretty much non-existent. I was there for 5 weeks and only noted 25 Teslas. Quite the opportunity if you're able to supplant these Japanese automakers. BYD's Dolphin could be the answer, but while Tesla's presence is continuing to grow in the land of the rising sun, I don't believe it'll really take off until Tesla releases the next gen vehicle. Something a little smaller than the Model 3, perfect for those tight winding roads down there.
We entered the market last year, selling the Atto 3 in January this year, and were able to add the Dolphin to it. We were able to show a variety of options to customers, including differences in mileage and body styles. I expect more customers will be interested in EVs in Japan.
Switching gears from the foreign auto market, let's head domestic, shall we?
The United Auto Workers Union says that they will expand their strike to additional auto plants if progress isn't made by Friday. The historic strike has made headlines over the past few days, and at first glance, the fight is simply over better pay and benefits for auto workers. But Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman thinks it's worth keeping eyes on EVs, and that on your radar. A shift that could completely change the auto landscape as workers know it. Rick joins us now with more here. Rick, take it away.
Yeah, electric vehicles are a major factor in the dispute between the labor union UAW and the 3 Detroit automakers for a couple of reasons. Obviously, much of the automotive industry is shifting away from gas-powered cars to electric vehicles, and EVs actually require fewer workers to build because there are fewer moving parts, about 30% fewer workers, and the UAW is clearly paying attention to that. Another factor is that since batteries are such a big component of EVs, that is a big chunk of the manufacturing for electric vehicles. And many of the battery plants that automakers are building in that battery belt that stretches from the upper Midwest all the way down to the South, many of those are joint ventures with other companies, including some foreign companies that are not unionized. So the UAW sees 2 things happening: the need for workers declining and a bigger chunk of auto manufacturing going over to non-unionized workers. And I think that is where this demand for a 32-hour work week is coming from on the UAW side. So they're saying, okay, we realize that EVs will require fewer workers, but instead of actually employing fewer workers, why don't you employ the same number of workers and just cut back on hours so we can all earn a full week's paycheck with just 4 days of work per week? No idea how that's going to shake out, but it is really shaping these negotiations. And I don't think it's a question of whether EVs will remain available for consumers. I think it's a question of whether the 3 Detroit automakers will be competitive in the market for EVs because they are going to face higher costs than Tesla and other companies that are not building these with unionized workers.
Electric vehicles require fewer parts, need fewer people to assemble. You're damn right you should be threatened. It's not like you could just pack up and go work for Rivian, go work for Lucid. Your skill set isn't going to be the same there. And you're definitely not going to get these benefits that the UAW is proposing to the Detroit 3. So what are your options? Quit? Try to go work for a non-unionized automaker that will be thriving in the next decade, or hamstring your current employer who definitely needs you when it comes to successfully transitioning to the battery electric vehicle. They might not need you when they fully transition, but in this interim, you bet your ass they need you. I don't know what else to say. This kind of sucks.
And Rick, how problematic could this potentially be for President Biden, right? We talk about the fact that he obviously has been very pro-union. Now you have the UAW pushing back on some of his policies. What does that then mean for President Biden heading into the election year?
He's facing conflicting priorities here. So Biden clearly a huge fan and a champion of electric vehicles. He signed the big green energy bill last year that has literally billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies for green energy, including electric vehicles. So he wants that transition to happen as fast as possible. To some extent, the unionized workers are standing in the way of that agenda. Now, Biden, of course, also calls himself the most pro-union president in American history. And he has come out with a sort of a tepid amount of support for the striking workers. There are some Democrats are saying Biden needs to go to a picket line. He needs to show up in UAW land and express solidarity with the striking workers by hanging out with them for a little bit, doing some photo ops and stuff like that. I'm not sure that would be the best move because he also is relying on the three companies, Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors, to be the ones who push his green energy agenda forward, including the union jobs that he says are essential to the green energy transition. So I think Biden is probably hoping that both sides can solve this problem without him having to get more deeply involved. I'm just not sure that's realistic.
There's no way that he can have his cake and eat it too. Did I use that right? I think I did. Ford, GM, Stellantis, they're not ready to compete with anybody when it comes to the battery electric vehicle. The incentives of the IRA meant to aid the big three, they're not getting those subsidies. They're going to Tesla. They'll be going to Rivian. Many people believe that Detroit would benefit the most, but Tesla's sitting back there licking their chops. Oh, we get this for this? Oh, no. We're not going to build that battery factory in Berlin. No. Scratch that. Put that in Austin. The majority of what the IRA is going to dole out for companies transitioning to green energy will go to Tesla. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest that if there is a cap on how much one company can benefit from these programs, the number will be staggering when they finally figure out that Tesla is receiving the lion's share of these unnecessary subsidies. EVs are just better than internal combustion engines, and as the price predictably falls, the total addressable market will become outstanding. All I'm saying is because of the IRA, it looks foolish for him to be standing in the picket line. All I know is Biden better not show up down there. It might get a little rough.
Our panel with us tonight is former acting U.S. Labor Secretary Seth Harris and Actum Consulting co-chair and former acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Seth, first to you. Survey after survey shows that a large percentage of Americans just don't have any interest. GM and Ford are losing billions of dollars on all these cars. Why this almost obsessive push?
Well, because it's necessary in order to save the planet, and we're very early in the life of electric vehicles.
How is making a car going to save the planet?
Well, by moving from internal combustion engine cars that emit gases that are greenhouse gases and moving to electric.
But okay. Hybrids are 14 times better for the environment than battery electric vehicles. Toyota knows that.
Where did this number come, and why is he referencing it with Toyota? Hybrids are better for the environment? Get the out of here. Hybrids are better for the legacy auto manufacturer because it is really just an internal combustion engine with a tiny battery attached to it. All that is more parts, more things to up. Of course, that benefits the legacy auto manufacturer's game plan because you have to go into the dealership more and you keep buying their internal combustion engines easily modified into hybrids as opposed to making them one powertrain that is truly efficient with less parts. Their model isn't designed for it. Of course, Toyota says they're 14% better for the planet. No, they're 14% better for their wallets.
Tie this together. Building anything. Is building anything good for the planet?
Well, we're going to have to build some things, Brian. We're going to have to build electric vehicles, for example, and we're early in the life of that product in the United States market. We're seeing growth, and I think we're going to see even more growth, particularly when the big three make a major push, as they're doing right now, into electric vehicles. So I think we are going to see the American people buying them. And also, we're in a policy environment that strongly encourages them to buy them.
No. I agree with Brian. We should go back into the Amish days. Let's get the horse and wagon. I'm sure that might be better for the planet. Of course, we're going to have to build something. We can't just keep building the internal combustion engine or any offshoot product that still endorses the burning of fossil fuels. Now, I'm not saying we have to get rid of everything that burns fossil fuels. That would be foolhardy. We're not there yet. But we have to start somewhere. Building a sustainable energy economy does not happen overnight, and dare I say will not be easy and painful, i.e. the Detroit 3.
With rich tax credits that will encourage them not only to buy electric vehicles, but to buy American-made electric vehicles, and that's going to help the industry get a tremendous boost in the domestic market.
Seth, I fundamentally disagree with everything you just said. No, I'm not. I talked to 50 to 60 car dealers. We had one on last night. No, aside from Teslas, they're not selling. The ones that sell they're losing tens of thousands of dollars on every single car. Americans have shown that 7%. If Americans wanted EVs, sales would be 100%, Seth, because you can get an EV anywhere you want at any time right now.
The problem isn't with EVs themselves. It's just that you're trying to force down the throat a shit product to the consumer. You can disagree all you want, but when Rivian starts outselling your Ford electric pickup, the warning signs should be blaring. Teslas are selling. Rivian is selling. If you let any one of those electric vehicle startups in China over here, they would be selling too. The best product will win out.
They're spectacularly expensive, and they don't do things very well. And by the way, I've driven many EVs, and I'll say this for the first time on the air, I've owned an EV. Okay? And I just worry about Detroit. I don't care about EVs or gas-powered cars because I talk about energy. I'm worried about Detroit and its jobs, Seth. I really, really worry about it.
Well, it's not just that you're disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with the big three automakers because they, as you said, are investing tens of billions of dollars in this transition to electric vehicles. There's new efforts to mine the necessary minerals to make the batteries. They're entering into joint ventures in order to create electric vehicle battery manufacturing facilities in the United States that are going to create a lot of jobs. The question, as you said, and I think you're right about this, is whether or not those are going to be good union jobs. And that will come down to whether or not the UAW is able to organize those workers along with some other unions and to help to drive collective bargaining agreements that get them good quality wages, good quality benefits, and a voice in the workplace.
And that's fair. And that is, I want to be clear on my point here, Mick, which is that I have a lot of friends in Detroit. I spend a lot of time in Michigan, and I worry about the blue-collar workers that built the middle class. And I know the UAW is far smaller, Mick, than it used to be. And if everybody, listen, if they can build a bunch of electric cars and trucks and fill a bunch of jobs and make a bunch of money, that's great. That's what I think Seth is getting to. But the data doesn't look good. And you just wonder how long can you keep losing all this money on this product, which a lot of people say they don't want, at least for now, while Toyota is sitting over there going in a totally different direction. China's going to be coming in here with like $10,000 battery electric vehicles. And Elon Musk is counting his billions because almost every EV that is sold is a Tesla, and that is a non-union shop.
And he's got a huge cost advantage because of that. Look, I think your gut, I think, is right, Brian, is that the workers know what the deal is. They're striking now for a reason. By the way, I happen to respect their right to do this. I happen to think that people should have the right to associate like this, and this is the right way to deal with this. I'd much rather have the union do the negotiating than have the government come and put their thumb on the scales, which is
Ding, 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 ding! Tell him what he's won, Johnny!
what's happened in previous Democrat administrations. But I think they see the writing on the wall just like everybody else does, just like sort of the screenwriters do in California with AI. People are not stupid. They know what happens in their own lives. They know what happens at their own workplace. And my guess is these folks are looking their hands over and say, look, it looks great on paper what the Biden administration has done. But really what this means is that 5-6 years from now, I'll be out of a job. And even worse, my kids won't be able to work in this line of work either.
That's a bright young man right there. It's going to be time to adapt. No matter how much Brian may say that electric vehicles are worse for the environment, nobody wants them. Let's be clear, people are buying EVs in record numbers year after year. Some might even call it exponential growth. There is an opportunity to be had here. Don't worry, cash register, I'm not going to get too preachy. Regardless of the policies that are enacted, state to state, federal, worldwide, what have you, electric vehicles are going to supplant the internal combustion engine. 10% of new car sales were EVs last year, and we're looking at it being 16 to 18% in 2023. Check, please.
George, how much does this strike of the UAW against what we call the big three benefit potentially non-union makers, especially Tesla?
Well, we think that this strike could have a positive impact on companies like Tesla and even Rivian because they don't have unions that they employ. And also, to the extent people need vehicles and they can't get them, well, there's an alternative. You could get a Tesla, you can get a Rivian. And we happen to think that despite certain price discrepancies, electric vehicles are just better performing vehicles. So to the extent that this strike lasts longer, it could benefit electric vehicle adoption in the two companies we cover, Tesla and Rivian.
Does it benefit the other manufacturers that are non-union but operate in the United States, Mercedes, BMW, Toyota, et cetera?
Certainly, we don't cover those, but they could certainly have a positive impact on them as well.
Although it's weird, George, because a lot of the EV names are down today.
And the lagging indicator of the stock market should not be your guide because it's fickle. The rationality of bots, the irrational nature of traders, short sellers, the stock price is all over the place. Who gives a shit if it's down today if you know it's going to be up in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, look, people had anticipated this positive impact that they could have, and the negotiations are fluid, and day to day we don't really track the performance, and who knows what's impacting the stocks from one minute to the next. But over an extended period of time, we think that these EV upstarts, including Tesla and Rivian, should take market share, and given their newfound infrastructure and their ability to build a vehicle from a clean sheet of paper, should positively impact their results.
It is striking that the median worker makes less than $35,000 at Tesla compared with $80,000 at GM and almost that amount at Ford. I mean, that's an enormous gap. You also think the positive catalyst for Tesla, and we hinted at this in the tease, but are this neural network kind of update it debuted about its full self-driving. In fact, I think it led you to downgrade Mobileye, if I'm not mistaken. So for those of us who missed it, what's the significance of its recent launch there?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's a deca-trillion-dollar opportunity if they can get these vehicles to behave in a manner that is 10 times safer than the average human. And I'm here to tell you, that's a low bar.
Well, we didn't downgrade Mobileye. We actually rated our buy rating there. And so what happened was, within autonomous vehicle circles, what Elon Musk did a couple of weeks ago in terms of his live stream is that he demonstrated that Tesla has a neural network that's enabling its full self-driving in version 12. And what that means is that the system takes photons in other words, video images, and controls out. And in the middle of that is artificial intelligence. There is zero software code.
What?
That's involved in making sure the vehicle goes from one place to another. It learns on its own to navigate its environment. Now, a company like Mobileye and a company like Aurora that we cover as well use a hybrid approach, meaning that, sure, they have some machine learning in there and some artificial intelligence, but within that system, they also think that hard coding software instructions is the best way to go. And in a thoughtful blog post late last week, Mobileye's CEO came out and explained his logic behind having that software code embedded. Aurora believes that the same approach is going to win. And frankly, in our recent note, we said, we don't know who's going to win this race. Will it be Elon Musk? Will it be Mobileye or Aurora? It's hard to doubt either of these companies and either of their CEOs and thought leaders at the companies. But at the end of the day, it's a fascinating debate. Who's going to win? Pure artificial intelligence and neural networks, or a hybrid approach between the two?
Yeah, so
I know where I got my money. Now I know that's a lot of UAW, but man, is it important to what's going to happen in the future of the automotive industry? How long will the strike last? Your guess is as good as mine. Well, that's all I got for you today. Be easy. Peace.